Alright, so you thought the railroad town Edwardsville, Illinois was dying pretty badly, right? I found a railroad town that's even worse. Now, this right here is not like any other dying railroad town. At least some other dying railroad towns are still like somewhat decent to rail fan at. I mean, they're still dying slowly, but some dying railroad towns aren't that bad, but they're still dying. But this is no ordinary railroad town. This here is Eldorado, Illinois. And there is only, to this very day, a single train left to a single destination. That's how bad this railroad town is. There is only one train left that runs in Eldorado, Illinois. And that train isn't daily. It's monthly. It hardly ever runs. Eldorado is at its last straw. If this one last train goes away, this railroad town will be completely dead. But back then, though, what not a lot of rail fans knew is that Eldorado had once seen happier days. And I'm going to go through the history for you and show you all about Eldorado, Illinois. Honestly, if a lot of rail fans had known about this spot back then in like the 70s and the 80s, it could have been considered a hot spot. This used to be an underrated spot. Welcome to episode 6 of Dying Railroad Towns, Eldorado, Illinois. So, back in the good days of Eldorado, there were a total of 3 different railroad lines that ran through there. One of them is still open today, but is rarely ever used, and the other 2 have been converted into bike trails. The first line was the Illinois Central Eldorado sub, now owned by Canadian National, which goes from DuQuoin, Illinois to Eldorado, Illinois. Then we also have the Louisville and Nashville Shawneetown branch from McLeansboro, Illinois to the Shawneetown. This was a little railroad line that would split off of the Louisville and Nashville St. Louis division, which is now owned by the Evansville and Western Railroad. And then our third line was the New York Central Big 4 line, which was the Egyptian line from Cairo to Vincent, Indiana. So the first line I'll go ahead and talk about is the CN Eldorado subdivision. We'll get to the LNN and the NYC later. So, the Eldorado subdivision, well, it was really never a busy line to begin with, but it was formerly owned by the Illinois Central Railroad until the Illinois Central Railroad got acquired by Canadian National in 1999. Today, the Eldorado sub still is in use, but not very often anymore. I mean, it wasn't a very busy line, but it was busier about, I'd say, 8 or 9 years ago. Around 2013 and 2014, the Eldorado sub actually had something other than just a local. Today, the Eldorado sub only gets the CN local L588-91, which I actually caught that train in Ashley, Illinois, which was not on the Eldorado sub. It was on the Centralia sub, because the Eldorado sub splits off the Centralia sub in DuQuoin. But about 8 to 9 years ago, the Eldorado sub actually did have daily traffic. There were 4 daily coal trains that would go to Galatia Mine. Not only that, there were also occasional grain trains on that line. As you can see, here are some photos of trains on the Eldorado sub in Christopher, Illinois, where the Eldorado sub crosses over the BNSF Beardstown subdivision. The Eldorado sub, it never really had over 10 trains a day, even when the Illinois Central had that line. But today, though, the reasoning of why all the coal trains are gone now is because the Galatia mine had closed. And now all those coal trains are gone. However, though, the mine is still there. And that mine could reopen at any time. Because as we all know, coal traffic is never consistent at all. So the mine could shut down, and reopen up again. We never know. But if Glacier Mine reopens, that would be a major help to the Eldorado sub, because our one and only train that runs 1 or 2 times a month, L588, if that train goes away, so does the Eldorado sub. Now, I doubt the track would be like ripped up. The track could still be there to be like used for storage, but that'd still be pretty bad. But yeah, that's really about it for the Eldorado subdivision. There isn't really much history on it, and not very many trains that ran there. The line was just a joke to begin with. The New York Central Big 4 line was a railroad line built in 1872 to connect Cairo, Illinois with Vincennes, Indiana. Ambrose Burnside was the one who did this, and the little town New Burnsides is named after him. Ambrose Burnside was a Civil War general. At first, the name of the organization had started as the Vincennes and Cairo Railroad, and over the years, there were other owners that had taken over the line, such as the Wabash, St. Louis and Pacific, the New York Central, Penn Central, Conrail, Southern Railway, and the Norfolk Southern Railroad. The Cairo and Vincennes Railroad crossed the L&N Shawneetown branch at Eldorado and crossed over the L&N St. Louis division at Carmi and the B&O at Norris City. The New York Central Railroad was also a contributor to World War II with the emergency pipeline, and the name Big Four is used to describe the railroad. But later on, when it came to around the time of the Conrail taken over after acquiring the Penn Central Railroad, the line wasn't very busy at all. But there was a local that went up to Karnak and would turn around. It was a bi-directional local, similar to the Canadian National St. Louis sub locals, which are also bi-directional. The Louisville and Nashville Railroad first began as the St. Louis and Southeastern Railway. At first it ran from East St. Louis through Mount Vernon, across the Wabash River to Evansville, and that was the St. Louis division. At McLeansboro, it branched off. The Shawneetown branch came off of the St. Louis division and headed 42 miles south to Shawneetown and go out by the Ohio River. Along the Shawneetown branch, Hamilton County stations included McLeansboro, Hoodville, Dale, and Broughton. The St. Louis and Southeastern Railway Company obtained a loan for $2,250,000 to build the line. The L&N ended its 132-year life and merged with the Seaboard system and is now operated with CSX today. I really have no idea on how many trains ran on the Shawneetown branch. However, though, it was a mix of freight and passenger trains, exactly like the New York Central. The New York Central line, though, strictly became freight once, like, the Conrail and the Southern and the Norfolk Southern Railway have taken over the line. The L&N line was always passenger and freight when it was in service. And the only line that ran through Eldorado without passenger trains was the Illinois Central, which was just strictly freight. So, what's left of Eldorado, Illinois today? Well, the CN still runs there, so the CN is still left. Now, what about the L&N and the NYC? Well, as I said earlier, those have been converted into bike trails, exactly where they ran. And here's a photo of where the L&N and the Southern crossed at a diamond. This is the Southern, and this is the L&N. The Union Depot in Eldorado is still standing today. And there's also an old searchlight signal still right next to the bike path. And that's really all I can think of that's left in Eldorado. Alright, well that's it guys. I would have made this video longer, but there just really isn't much history about those two lines, and if there is, I can't find it, and I don't know much about these lines at all, but Eldorado, Illinois is definitely a dying railroad town. Probably one of the worst I've ever had to do in this series, because there is only one train left to one destination. That's it. And if that train goes away, the railroad town of Eldorado will be completely dead. So, it's kind of concerning at this point, and I mean, as a wise man once said, all good things must come to an end. And that is unfortunately true. And I don't see any hope for Eldorado right now. I really do not see any hope. But things change. But anyways, that is it for today, guys. And thank you for watching.